Hi, guys. I'm going to be doing a reading on Bonscott, and I'm going to try to connect with his spiritual energy because we're all connected. We can do that, and we'll just see what impressions, what cards come up, and allowing him to choose what he wants to share. So I'm going to focus on Bon Scott. He was born July 9th, and that makes, ah, let's see, I'm just looking at, he's got his sun in Cancer, his moon in Scorpio, or was rather, and his ascendant was in Aquarius, his midheaven Sagittarius. Often with entertainers, Sagittarius or Leo is often in a rising sign or their midheaven. I have Sagittarius as my midheaven as well. And it's the one energy I do depend upon to kind of come out here and do things like this with my channel. So I can appreciate when I see his chart, um, the entertainer thumb mark, with the sensitivity that he has, great deal of sensitivity with the Scorpio moon, secrecy as well. He probably kept a lot to himself. Um, Very sensitive soul with that Cancer sun and Scorpio moon. And I will include a link to his birth chart so you can look it over. Even if you're just a novice like myself, it's a good way to learn. All right. So we're trying to connect with Bon Scott and what he wants to share about his life. Just what this is by request. Taking a look at Bon Scott. What do you want to share about your life? And just anything. Just opening the door. Just connecting to Bon. Okay. Bon Scott, what do you want to share? Well, we're getting the King of Pentacles and the Six of Wands. There's recognition for somebody's coming through a challenge and doing a good job. And there's a King of Pentacles. I need to just pause for a minute and see if this would connect to the likes of Angus or other people in the band. Now, this is interesting. I think that this King of Pentacles and the Six of Wands is Malcolm Young. His birthday was January 6th. So he would be a Capricorn. And this would acknowledge an effort and his victory, I think, for being so long in the band. And I think enduring as he did with his issues at the end with dementia and drink and all those challenges. There's some sort of a tipping of the hat that he's doing. The other thing that was interesting was, and I found it quite unexpectedly, was bands as zodiac signs. And the interesting thing was that AC/DC came up as Capricorn, which would also be this King of Pentacles. and the success that they've had. They have had a, a long success for a band, even though Bon isn't with them. And I think this is his way of acknowledging both. I think Malcolm Young and his efforts and tipping his hat to him, as well as the long endurance of this band, in with the King of Pentacles and the Ace, not the Ace, the Six of Wands, where their longevity as a band is concerned. And he's really, I think, very pleased that they're still going. I think he's the feeling I'm getting is like, isn't that something? Because most bands do not last this long. Um, okay, we're getting the Page of Wands and the Two of Cups. So he's acknowledging a playful relationship, a close relationship, and maybe because we have it close to on the heels of the Malcolm Young card, it could be acknowledging that there was some kind of and I don't know, a close friendship or some kind of closeness, I think, with the likes of Malcolm. There was a bond there, I believe, with the Two of Cups and the playful Page of Wands. What else do we get? We're getting a Queen of Wands. And an Eight of Wands. Something quickening coming up with a female. Now, I don't know. This kind of feels like this was someone also close to Bond. Or maybe is it close to Malcolm? Is Malcolm, does he has a wife? Does he have yet a wife that's living? Let me check on that. Well, I'm thinking that this could be a wife, maybe either or quite possibly Malcolm Young's daughter. I'm not sure. But from what I have come to understand, just because I had to look it up just now, is that Malcolm and Bond did have a very strong bond, both professionally and friendship wise, apparently. I didn't know that. So this is making sense. And I'm guessing this Queen of Wands is someone he's bringing in. And I tend to think it's probably the wife of Malcolm. Um, and her name is, I think, was it, let's see, Malcolm's wife, was it Linda? Anyway, he was married and he died in 2017. So I feel like he's bringing that up. We have the card of dreams or lack of sleep, anxiety, some issues, the dementia. Um, I'm wondering, because that's what he died of, Malcolm. And he's showing me some sort of issues where I think the dementia that he passed away from affected him, his thoughts. He's holding his head here. So he's looking at, he's bringing up Malcolm and Malcolm's wife. I think, the fact that she probably helped to look after him and that closeness of that relationship, that looks like something he's bringing to the forefront. Yes. And also the change in, I think, with self regulation, not drinking and changing some behaviors with the Knight of Wands. So I think he's saying that he's very proud of Malcolm and Malcolm's efforts, especially where drink and drugs with the Eight of Cups are concerned. I think that that somewhat contributed to his issues with dementia. That's also something that's genetic, but I think that if you have a hard party lifestyle like Malcolm did, I think that it can bring it on. That's a fact that alcohol causes brain damage. Um, and I just feel like there's something there where he's showing that there is an effort to correct excessive behavior and mature. And I feel like he's acknowledging the wife's help with that. And he's acknowledging Malcolm. And I'm sure he and Malcolm are hanging out. We're getting the Chariot and the Three of Pentacles. To me, this is the band and touring. And the fact that they still play today, he could be acknowledging, for all I know, if I don't know if they're touring right now or going to, or if he's referring to the past when the band and there's touring and he's showing, yeah, around the world that he got to go to a lot of different places that probably wouldn't have been able to go to, is my guess. I'm feeling like he's saying he couldn't have afforded to have traveled that way, but through the band, they were all able to go all around the world, different places. And he loved that. We've got the Knight of Swords. There's a very excited, fast moving energy here with the world and the travel and that them working. So it definitely feels like tour. And maybe he's talking about quite possibly when his life came to an end. There is the completion card with the world. And this would, if that's the case, indicate that it would have felt sudden to him, very like it's all over before you know it, as well as I think the excitement of being on the road. I think there was a part of him that must have enjoyed that. Okay. We're getting the Lovers and the pleasure card of the Nine of Cups. I think that his relationships, he was married. Now, I don't know, I can't think of her name. Let me see if I can look that up. Okay. So, in reading about Bond, I find out that he wasn't married at the time of his passing, but he was actually divorced in 1977 from Irene, his wife at the time. So I think we're getting that he enjoyed the ladies. Uh, there's a great deal of pleasure and pleasure seeking, partying it up. He was a ladies' man. And I think that he's indicating here he had a good time. He liked to party. I think he liked to flirt. And I think he's definitely saying he enjoyed that part of his life. Okay. What else are we going to get? Okay, we get the Seven of Wands and the Queen of Swords. This could be acknowledging that it was difficult, I think, for a woman in particularly, and maybe his ex or someone like that, because we have someone that here that's defensive and no nonsense. And to have a wife like that and being a musician, I'm going to say she was probably keeping an eye on making sure he wasn't going anywhere he shouldn't. Anyway, let's move on. Oh, we're getting fighting or arguing here with this feminine energy, this Queen of Swords. And yeah, being held to account. Um, Maybe there's an acknowledgement in his relationship with her, the ex-wife. There's a feminine energy here that's argumentative, and there's defensiveness and being called out for certain behavior. Um, Not changing, not at wanting to party. It's just, with his lifestyle, I think that probably played a big role. And then with the Three of Cups, you've got the drinking. And to me, it's also acknowledgement of his work with the band and that connection. King of Swords and Temperance. So to me, this is acknowledging those in the band with the likes of, I think, Malcolm, who, not Malcolm, but Angus, that are teetotalers. I feel like there's clarity here, there's proper balance, there's not an excess, but there's a very fine mind here that is fond of details and doesn't want their mind fuzzy or uh, numb. They want clarity. And I just feel like he's acknowledging, I feel like Angus, because we know that he did not indulge. He likes to have his tea and his ciggies, and that's it. I feel like they were acknowledging that. There are some secrets here with the high priestess that he's showing. Okay. And it's to do with being abandoned or left. I think this is talking about the night of his passing, where he was left in the car to sleep off uh, being intoxicated, and it was too cold. And he, from what I've read, passed as a result. Yeah, being alone, the hermit, and the Three of Swords. This could have caused issues with his heart. I'll have to look at the read up on his passing, but he's on his own. There's some sense of someone having betrayed him, perhaps, or it could be someone feeling that way. Maybe the guy that left him in the vehicle that didn't come back out and tell him to come on up. This is looking deeply. And I think he's acknowledging he was deeply lonely at that time. Okay. But that we don't have all of the facts about him in the vehicle. I think this is it being left there um, on his own. And I don't know if there was some reason that he wouldn't have come up, but I don't know. There's just a broken heart there. There's some loneliness going on that he's showing me, and feeling alone, abandoned. Hmm. Okay, let's just carry on to what we get. And this kicks in fate, kicks in change, a shift. And there he is with the King of Cups, his fate, the Wheel of Fortune. It could be, too, that part of his agreement before he came to be born, we have that, would be that he wanted to maybe part of our thing is our passing, where we can pass, where like a window comes open. And I feel like this window came open with the Wheel of Fortune for him, and he was on his own. Okay. Ah, okay. My computer came unplugged. So I'm using another deck called Stardust Shadows by Trish James. And these are the cards I'm getting. And I was focusing on him. Let's see what we get. Let me see something here. Wait a minute. All right. We get ongoing. We get the 7 of coins. That is, oh my gosh. On the other side, we get entertainer. And in the spotlight, I think that's him. And I think, again, he's acknowledging the band has continued to carry on. And he's acknowledging himself right there as entertainer. He says corrupted, bad choices here that he ended up making, I think, with the drink. I get attachment surrounded by negative. At that time of his passing, perhaps he was. Regret, the 5 of Cups. I think he regrets it. I think part of it is that he sees that he could maybe still have continued on with the band. And I think he regrets the actions, the bad choice that he made that cost him his life. We get exhaustion as well with the 9 of Wands. And it's interesting that we're shown a guy with a guitar. Now, of course, Bond didn't play guitar, but he was in a band. And I think part of the bad choices is connected to perhaps being exhausted. And certainly when he fell asleep after that night of being out and partying, I think there's obviously the bad decision that also not only that he made, but that others made in leaving him in the car due to being exhausted. We get shakeup, rocks the scene. You can't make this up. It did. His passing was a shock. And it looks like he's really sorry about it. He feels like he's stupid, is what the feeling I get, like I was stupid. Um, I get reason, intended purpose. I get that 3 of Swords again on the other side, distancing. So he was in England at the time of his death, and he was distanced He wasn't around, I think, his typical friends. Release, let go. I think he's let this go, but I think he regretted it. Um, I get, disassociate. He's got that hermit card again. There's wisdom, but there's also being on one's own. And he may have been feeling lonely at the time because he didn't have a wife or family to, um, well, he had family, but he didn't have a wife to go home to. I think there's definitely a sense of loneliness at the time of his passing that he's sharing. He's getting alliances with the Two of Cups, but he's also getting the story and a directed narrative. So there is something where, again, there's a sense of loneliness. You're missing someone or missing having someone, and it matters. I think he feels like if he had had someone that was really looking out for him, like a proper girlfriend or something at the time, I think he feels like he would have fared better, but he was on his own. Time is up, only a matter of time. I think, again, that window popped open and the window of an opportunity where he could pass, and he went through it. And we have the card of sacrifice here with the hanged man. And it was, I think, an exit he took. And I tend to think maybe it could have been that, who knows, he could have seen that if he left now, he would end on a high note and not a lower note. If, that's what I think. He could have ended up having a lot of issues that may not have been such a leaving his earthly life on such a high point, so to speak. I get procurer in the Knight of Cups. To me, this is about the drink and silence, will not divulge. I think there are things, once again, about that night that aren't known, that haven't been shared 100%. And a lot of people have felt that. Okay. Surrendering to fate, accepting. I think he was fated because we earlier got the Wheel of Fortune for him with that. And I think that this was his fated exit. Let's put this on pause for a minute. Okay. Just recording a video. We get foreign land. Well, he was in England, the world. And that's also the completion card. And he did get that earlier. Surrendering to fate, accepting the world, the completion. Okay. So he surrendered to his fate. I feel like he was really saying that he was really out of it. Brain fog, hazy, not in right mind. So I don't think he really suffered. Uh, we get the Seven of Cups. So This shows opportunity here, but I think it's more the brain fog who is not really with it. And then he's saying rebirth in new form. We are reborn on the other side into a new form without the flesh body, back into spirit. And he's saying there's more to it than we think behind the scenes. So, really, if you haven't learned about NDEs um, and the afterlife, it's quite interesting. Um, if you've had those experiences yourself, like I have, this is just a kind of a very heavy existence that we short one that we experience before we go back to a really wonderful existence compared to here. He feels guilty. There's some guilt involved, I think. Guilt, worry. It may have been also on the part of other people that worried about his being. I think, especially the way he passed. Um, yeah, interesting. He's acknowledging temperance, this need to balance extremes, and patience. There's patience needed. And I think it's about where people are involved that, feeling guilty, including himself, feeling negative about it, worry. But I think that gives way. There's healing with that in time through patience. And cleaned up goes quiet or hidden, not involved, did not see. It could be somebody that claims to that hasn't shared everything they know, I think, about his passing. Just a feeling. I feel like there's guilt or worry and they kept it to themselves. Maybe in time they might not feel that way anymore. It's like cleaning up your life afterward, being more patient, not just leaving someone there. I think he's speaking about the person that he was out with that night. Trauma, healing required. I feel like it traumatized the fellow that left him there. Scandal. There was. A lot of people still don't feel like they've got all the answers. And he's kind of showing us there are some things you don't know. There are some things that were not shared. We're also getting web of lies. Could have been some straight up lying involved because there's interconnected and someone wasn't admitting it. And there's scandal. We get transfer, power and duties. Okay. And exclusive, influence, and fierce. There's a feminine energy here around him. And it's a queen of wands. I'm sorry, queen of wands and empress. Could be a mother figure. He's acknowledging. And there's something that is exclusive. The empress with the mother and a transfer of power or duties. Maybe after his passing, I don't know, was his mother still alive? Did something go on? Uh, did she handle stuff, his things? I'll have to read about that. We get vulnerable and possessive. Hmm. Guy has a cup. I think he's acknowledging how vulnerable he was in his situation um, while he was under the influence of things. And maybe how possessive people could be. They thought he had a lot of money. And he's saying the gossip about, I think his passing is not all true. There's instability. And we have his card, the King of Cups. I think he was unstable and acknowledging that about his life. Misdirection, what I want you to see. Well, entertainers can give us the 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 part of them that we want, by being on. And the problem is they can lose themselves in by being on all the time, as if they were entertaining all the time, not really coming back to themselves. And we get on the flip side of this bravery or the strength card. And the strength card is about self-regulation. And this misdirection, uh, I think what you want people to see versus being perhaps more authentically yourself could be that, he just kind of got carried away um, with his alternate persona, took over his life. And there's some misdirection there. We're getting things that come out with truth, with the sun. There's exposure. And on the flip side is information and gathering facts. So like some truth coming out in time. And he feels like I get in disguise, masked appearance, and feeling like with the entertainment, like that's just a part of who he is, but not um there's more depth to who he is than just this persona that was kind of running the show, if you will, pardon the pun, but kind of taken over in his life. And that was a burden with the 10 of Pentacles. I'm sorry, the 10 of Wands. He got that earlier. It's draining. And you have to kind of play this again, be on, in disguise, masked appearance, being on. I get compliant, obedience, and spite, drugs involved. That includes alcohol, of course. To me, with the chains around this man, despite the words and all of that, the imagery is of being, I feel like, obedient to one's habits, bad habits, like he suggested before, and just too involved in that activity. Okay. Learn from this season. I think he wants other people to look at his life of excess and learn from it and realize that that's not the way to go. That he could have had a lot more fun, um, but he wasn't careful. There was recklessness, and he was letting his bad habits have full direction rather than his common sense. We get recovery. So I think had he lived, I think he would have wanted to go into recovery or treatment And I think he's acknowledging that for people that have issues similar to himself, um, and to learn from it. I mean, he lost his life. You have your life still. Learn from it, clean up your life. And I get set up to take the blame. Stability, Four of Wands. But I got this set up to take the blame. Naivete, the Fool. I think he's just saying you can blame other people all you want, but that's naive. You have to take responsibility and not take big risks like he did and as you will, when you tend to be under the influence. I get comeback will be revealed. Story to tell. Sing like a bird. Debauchery. Well, kind of the life on the road. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. You know, I just got a sense of, is there going to be in the future some sort of film story to tell, sing like a bird? I feel like, Johnny Cash has had his film. Will Bonscott get that treatment? I think quite possibly there could be some sort of a story yet about his life. That would be quite a good show. I'd watch it. Um, and his issues with addiction and women and excess with debauchery, the devil, that's excess. And the Nine of Coins is independence, being wealthy enough to do what you want, pay off. But we did get the comeback will be revealed, the story to tell. I feel like those two. And there's some sort of a choice, Two of Swords, where this is concerned, and a start, open doors. I feel like he's letting us know that there could be a project about him that will be developed, that will be starting. And it's still being like there's choices being made with the Two of Swords and actions being taken, figuring things out. But it looks like it's beginning to open for this. I really would be surprised. And frankly, I'm surprised that there hasn't already been um, something on him. And we get the fall with the Tower. We get the back away, do not get involved. And we get bound, tied into it, and endings with death. So I feel like that death, once again, was something that, as weird as it might sound, was part of the plan of that life that he had as Bond to leave, to exit. And also because of the way he was living, it created an exit. Sudden one that he didn't anticipate, and he passed. So I think that there will be, I think that there might be a project on his life and his death. Now, I'm sure that there's been plenty of them, and that I don't know about, but there's something big. This would indicate one that would be more of like a pretty big deal. I'm getting desires with the Nine of Cups. All right. And perks, loves the lifestyle. Again, he liked pleasure. He liked women. He liked drinking. He's letting us know that he did enjoy that part of the lifestyle. But it can have deception. It can have its dark side with the moon. But he was enjoying some of that hidden stuff. However, draining energy, blood money. The only thing with that is that it can be fun, but the flip side is it can become very dark and people can use you. Okay, we get different, not what you'd expect. All right, what's he sharing? Associated, linked, or connected. All right. Acquisition, to obtain or gain. Hmm. Ace of Wands. So some new start, but there's some kind of dishonesty here with that Seven of Swords, with this acquisition. Someone's maybe not being honest. There could be some issues with maybe the project. We get indebted. Six of Coins, probably money for this. They need help. Unprepared, not ready for this. So maybe they're trying to get funding or a producer for it. Change course, Two of Wands. Again, there's this sense of choice and things that are just beginning with this. Renewal, the Star. And we get gone. And we also get producer on the other side. So again, I want to say, I think there's something up in the air to do with maybe a film, maybe much not so dissimilar as what Jim Morrison, and the Doors had with Oliver Stone. Not that Oliver Stone's going to do something on Bonscott, but I feel like there's a similar kind of an energy project-wise. There's negotiation around this and a movie for the camera. So again, I think he's letting us know that there may be a film about his life and death coming that's going to be worked out. A producer, they need to get money, they'll find a producer and set up ready to film. Keeping this secret because they want to expand and level up with the Three of Wands with this project. There's a hardship though where money is concerned, and so involved, committed to the plan. They need to get somebody that's going to be a producer that's committed to this. Enchantment. And altruism, good intentions. I think they'll find someone who can really bring a vision to the film. And that those that are behind this film have good intentions. They want to honor him, but they need to find a producer, and I think they will, that is devoted and serious about it. Yeah, connections. 10 of Cups. Looks like it's quite favorable and revealed. Then the mask comes off, and then they let people then find out about this. Once I think they get the negotiations sorted out and they get people lined up, then there might be an announcement to do with this project. We get rituals with the magician, and this is also creating things like film, where communication and verbal communication especially is also part of this, as well as the singing. I'm getting that creativity there. And who would play him? I wonder. Facilitator, Knight of Wands. So someone who I think can teach, perhaps another to sing, or to, whoever would play him would have to learn his mannerisms and all of this. And that's what I feel like this is, and his vocal skills. So puppet master, pulling strings, and authority. The emperor. We're getting a male energy here, an older male energy that perhaps will head this. Lifetime. It's about his lifetime while he was here. And it's going to be, it's recorded. There's justice. I think he feels like it's going to be a relatively balanced perspective on his life. Targeted. This is attack. Maybe there'll be people that are going to say, there's always someone that's going to say something, right? And there's kind of a reprimand. Some people might get a little huffy about it. He's showing that there's these people might feel stuck, or make the people that are trying to create this feel stuck. Something that is denied or not permitted. Maybe they are going to struggle to get permission by others connected. But I get protection and guarded. I think that Bond wants this to go through, but he sees them having a hard time with this. And we have knowledge, the high priestess, right here. And this is something that they're not aware of. There's protection, I think, around this, again, project. I think he wants to see it manifest. And what they may not be aware of is that he's going to make sure it does, despite the fact that there are going to be some people that don't want it being done. But he's going to have, I feel like, protection around this project. Execute, he wants it done with the Knight of Swords. And favorable, good outcome. I think he's saying they're not going to have the vision, but if they'll just relax, it's going to be good. And he's saying innocence. I think those that are behind this are not trying to make a buck or whatever. This is, I think, truly trying to make a film that is honest about his life and done. So distraction. Looks are deceiving for money. I think people need to, he's trying to say, get over that. It's not going to be about that. And there is group. I think the band might have some say in this here with the 3 of coins. That's the other people he worked with. And we get things moving forward, getting away with the 6 of swords. Usually this is like after difficulty, things smoothing out. So I think there's going to be a lot of issues, perhaps with someone that wants to create this project to get it going. But I think he's saying, support it. If you hear about this, support it. We get youth with the Page of Wands. And we get control, the Chariot. moving forward. Perhaps the youth are supportive, want to see this. And those of us that are young at heart. Yeah, because the other side of the youth is advisor. Okay. Handpicked. We get similar under the same umbrella, enterprise, organization, and reckoning and greater awareness, and to do with his talents. That's so interesting. So I think he was, to just kind of cap this off, I think he was feeling pretty lonely at the end of his life, and he was out and he was, you know, didn't have someone to care for and keep an eye on him. And I think he somewhat regrets um, exiting so soon. But I think in the long term for him, it is what was to be, what he was meant to do, to exit. And it looks to me like there's a need to support some sort of project that will come up about his life, and that he really enjoyed women and he enjoyed partying, but he admits that it went too far. Um, it's so interesting that this reading made so much sense to me. I really do feel like his energy is definitely connecting. All right, very quickly here, just to cap this off, I'm just going to use this sugar-coated deck. Bon, is there anything else you want to share with your fans? Let's see what we get. Overworked. Yeah, hang on. Plan to succeed. Set clear goals. I think he's saying work smarter and set clear goals. Don't get yourself in something that where you're not happy. Plan to succeed. So it looks like, there's some life advice there. Perspective, see it differently. He's calling for people to broaden their perspectives and to look at it from another person's point of view, to be more empathetic. And wisdom, learn from experience. He kept saying, learn from it, and learning from his mistake the night that he passed, and hopes that other people will learn from it. And I still think he hopes that people will learn from his life. Not just not to drink and do things like that are excessive, but also his ambition. He worked really hard, but I think he's trying to say work smarter, plan to succeed, set clear goals. Don't get lost in using substance and allow that to cloud your mind. And learn from his experience, wisdom, see things differently. What else? Your destiny, create it. Stop waste time, energy, money. I think he's like saying, if you want to create something in your life, go for it. Don't waste time, get focused, Don't waste your money. Be serious about it. Follow it up. Don't just let it be pipe dreams, but be smart about it. Plan to succeed and see things differently. Get advice, learn from those that have made these mistakes and create your life. Don't wait for it to happen and don't waste your energy. Life is short. Not this time. Keep trying. Don't give up because sometimes it's not the right time. Keep trying. Be patient. It will take time. So we got some advice for people. Sleep on it. A good night's rest before you make decisions, especially if you're being offered something. Don't just knee-jerk reaction. Oh, sleep on it. Forgiveness. People make mistakes. And he's really embracing forgiveness. I think this is forgiveness for the fellow that didn't have him come on up. I feel like he's acknowledging that and not to hold on to toxic stuff. Teach, guide others, share your knowledge, don't be a gatekeeper, and speak up. Be heard. And look, singing, like. Also, if you want to learn how to sing, don't let that stop you. Take some classes. Creative energy, divine inspiration. So I really feel like he's urging people that want to sing, want to do creative entertainment to go for it, but to be careful, not to jump at offers that you're given, to work smarter with the clearer mind, and to not waste your time, energy, money, and be focused. Discretion. Learning to keep things to yourself. People can use things against you as in high demand, popular right now. So when you become famous, he's saying it's best to keep things to yourself. Otherwise, people can share that. Just breathe when you feel overwhelmed. When things get too much. And value yourself. Know your worth. That's so beautiful. And he's acknowledging that there is awakening right now, and it's time to see the truth. Don't sugarcoat it. Tell it like it is. Be who you are. Don't play these games. Be honest. And it's a time of honesty. Leveling up. The energy is changing. We're leveling up on this planet through awakening. I've seen that in dreams. And don't worry, it'll be okay. Let go. Don't allow worry to drain you. Believe in abundance, a bounty of blessings. And I feel like he's talking about like that when people have that fear of lack, and then their every motive that they have is motivated by the fear of not having. He's saying like, I feel like he's saying, let that go. Know that there's enough. And don't worry, it'll be okay. And what's for you, go for what is for you. Don't try and make something fit that isn't for you. Play hard, pick up your game, hard work. It's not going to happen without that. And seek adventure if you're bored. Travel. Do something new. Grow from this. Again, learning experience. And energy boost, he leaves you with a positive vibration. and a reminder that you're worth it, but hard work is needed and effort. So he's really on about this is hard work. Don't kid yourself. Get serious about it and make the effort and pursue it. Don't just talk about it. So I'm going to leave that there. Full hour. All right. Thank you very much. If you appreciate readings like this, please give me a thumbs up. Thank you so much.